What is going on, everyone? A huge thank you for clicking on the video. I greatly appreciate that, as always. Today I am back with another video, this time a follow-up video to one I did a while back where I was testing to see if you could get physical ROM hacks to play on the Super Nintendo's Super Game Boy. Had a few people leave some comments wondering if we could do the same thing in the Pokémon Stadium games, and I think in the past, maybe on some individual videos, I've tested to see if this is doable, but I've definitely not consistently done that on a lot of my ROM hack videos, so I figured why not make a dedicated follow-up video and see if we can get some of these ROM hacks to work on Stadium. More specifically, Stadium 2, mostly because I don't have Stadium 1, but also, if it's going to work on any of them, it's probably going to be Stadium 2. This one can play the Gen 2 games, Stadium 1 can't. I definitely had Stadium 1, I just don't know what happened to it, so we're going to be testing it on Stadium 2. I've got a couple of ROM hacks over here. This isn't all of them, but we're going to be testing out a few ROM hacks, of course, on the transfer pack and seeing if they can work on Stadium 2's Gameboy Tower. So, we've got a few things like green, if you even really consider that a ROM hack, but you got Fool's Gold, brown version, we've got purple, we've got a lot of options. If you've seen any of my videos, we're going to be testing a lot of those to see if we can get them working on here. But without further ado, let's check this out. Spoiler alert, I guess, I'm not super confident it's going to work. Maybe green. I just remember perhaps maybe these things not working too well. It's a little bit different than the Super Game Boy, but we're here to figure that out, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, here we are. We're going to go ahead and get started, and we're just going to try and blast through these. We've got a stack of them here, and first up, we've got Pokemon Brown. Fittingly first, because it's also the first ROM hack I believe I ever played, so shout out to Pokemon Brown, fantastic game. But yeah, we've got it loaded here in Pokemon Stadium with the transfer pack, and unfortunately, it doesn't seem like it's going to work. It does not seem this game pack can't be used. The ID's all asterisked out, so unfortunately, this one is going to be a bust. I've tried multiple times, taking it in, taking it out, seeing if that's going to switch things up, make it work. But unfortunately, no, we just keep getting this error here, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the next. Next up, we've got Fool's Gold, another fantastic ROM hack. You just play every ROM hack I'm talking about in this video. They're all really fun, really good. Check them out. This one, though, is a little bit different. It's showing that it is a Pokemon game. It's not showing that there's any save data on there for whatever reason, but I did check on my Game Boy. My save profile is still there, but for whatever reason, it's a Pokemon game, but it's not showing anything there. But we can actually get to the Game Boy Tower in the actual loading process here. But it's not showing any of my team, as you can kind of see here. Just completely blank. But it is loading, and if you've played Stadium before, you know that that little loading bar, the little cord thing, it gets faster until it eventually works. And yes, this is Fool's Gold, and that's showing as Crystal because this is actually a ROM hack of Crystal, so it is registering it as like essentially the proper game, but just not showing that there's anything there. And sadly, it eventually does end with this game pack not set properly. I'm not sure why it says that, of all things, but I did try multiple times, and it either does this or it just doesn't show any game in the game pack, so unfortunately, we're going to have to chalk this one up to a dud. Now, moving on to Bronze version, which is also probably my favorite Pokemon ROM hack. I just think it's amazing. But this one, we've got the best results so far. It's showing my profile. It's not showing that it's not there. It's not only registering as a Pokemon game, but it's even showing the name. Everything's there. So when we go to the Game Boy Tower, once again, we are greeted with that loading screen. However, this time, I actually have a team. It's showing everybody there, which I think is a great sign. Fun little fact, that Dunsparce, if I'm not mistaken, is actually Plum Bloom, which is like a fake Mon-ROM. So it's trying to pull the game. It's trying to read the game as is. But sadly, just like the last ones, even though we're getting more progress with each game so far, we are once again hit with that transfer pack not set properly. Again, I don't really know why it's saying that of all things, because it's clearly registering the game. It wants to play this game, but something last minute it gets it to not go. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to keep moving on. Now, moving on to a couple of Gen 1 based hacks, we've got Kanto Expansion Pack, and I'll go ahead and say also Team Rocket Edition or Pokemon Tray, kind of lumping these two together because their results are actually the same. It's a lot like that first one where it's just not registering as a game. This game pack can't be used, or this game pack can't be played, which I do find odd. I find, especially Trey, there's really not a whole lot of change to Trey. I was really hoping a lot of these Gen 1 hacks that we're testing would work. You know, they're usually the more basic hacks, maybe not so much Kanto expansion, but Trey, there's not a whole lot there. I was hoping it's close enough to home that maybe we could trick Stadium 2 into just running it, but sadly these ones, they're not even registering it as a game, just game pack can't be used. So on to the next. Now we've got Crystal Clear version, which is, I sound like a broken record, but another fantastic ROM hack. Seriously, one of the best Gen 2 ROM hacks out there. It's phenomenal. It's a fan favorite for sure. And this one, we've got some good results again. It's actually registering the name there, the profile there. We got Charlie this time. So it's showing there. It wants to load this game. And again, we get to that Gameboy Tower, and we start loading in, and it even shows the team. Everything looks great. I really thought this one was going to do it. I just thought, again, there's not a whole lot of, I mean, there is difference, of course, in Crystal Clear, but I thought maybe it played close enough to home that we would be able to get this one to work. But again, just like the last ones, the transfer pack is not set properly, so I think that's just lingo for it's not working, basically, for whatever reason. It gets really close so many times, but sadly, no. Now, I did also try a fan favorite ROM hack, Pokemon Prism version. I know everybody loves Prism, everybody knows Prism version, another great game. For whatever reason, though, my camera got effed up or whatever, and it didn't really record that properly, but it was a lot like the other ones where the game pack just can't be used, which I thought was odd. I figured it would have at least registered that one, but like many others, it unfortunately could not be used. But we've got one more we're going to test here today, and I think if any of them are going to work, it's probably going to be green version here, because this is literally, it's just green. It's just red, blue, green, right? You would think it would work. And I do find it interesting that when we actually have green loaded in here, it actually shows it as green version, which kind of surprised me a little bit, because if you're unaware, we didn't get green version here in North America. And so I kind of thought it odd that Stadium 2 even, could register it as green. That means Stadium 2's got some bit of green in there. It can at least acknowledge it as green version, which, again, I find interesting since we didn't get it. So I was pretty hopeful when I saw that it showed up as green. I was like, holy cow, this might actually work. And if you're familiar with the channel, I've talked about my copy of green. It's pretty glitchy. That could be why it didn't work. Spoiler, it didn't work. Got the same error as last time. But it tried, and I find that interesting that it even registered. But maybe if I had a more polished green that wasn't so visually glitchy, it might have worked. But unfortunately, no, this one didn't work. So sadly, none of these ROM hacks seem to work. Like I said, we got multiple attempts going here, and it really tried. I really thought a couple of them were going to work, but there's something here with Stadium 2 that's just really not letting it happen. No ROM hacks, at least for me, were able to get through and play. There's a gajillion ROM hacks out there to try, so maybe I'll give it another go at some other time, but at least for now, sadly, we could not get ROM hacks to work on Stadium 2. Alright, that is going to bring us to the end of the video here, the end of do physical ROM hacks work on Pokemon Stadium 2. And sadly, no, at least not with the batch that I handpicked here. As I mentioned earlier, there's an ever-growing number of ROM hacks out there, so maybe later down the line there could be a part 2. It's only getting bigger, but if I'm being honest, I think we got out of it everything that I thought we'd get out of it, which is just that it's just not going to work, sadly. I won't rule it out entirely, but I'm not super optimistic. Either way, I hope you all got something out of the video. If you did, feel free to leave a like on the video. That would help it out a ton. And if you want to see more content like this, more, 64, Game Boy, Pokemon adjacent content, then hit the subscribe button and check out my channel. I got tons of videos, adjacent to this, and I'm always trying to pump out new things. So if you have any suggestions, feel free to leave those in the comments down below as well. And if you have any other questions, feel free to leave those down below as well. I'll do my best to get back to them. But until next time, I'll see you all later.